Welcome back to my channel. I just want to share with you some very interesting and important news. So Putin, he turns Ukraine into a WW3 World War III testing ground. Russia rains hellfire on Kiev. S-400 hit in Kursk. This S-400 getting hit by Ukrainian forces is raising the suspicion that perhaps Ukraine has more of those Storm Shadow missiles from UK. What I'm trying to get you at is this. The claims that Ukraine is making that they have killed this many numbers of North Korean troops or Russian troops, or they have hit S-400, it shows that there is more going on behind closed doors than what we see on mainstream media. Russia carried out a overnight drone attack targeting several Ukrainian regions. Ukrainian air defense units managed to shoot down 50 of the 73 drones fired from Russia. Quote unquote, over the past week, Russia has launched more than 800 guided aerial bombs, around 460 strike drones, and over 20 missiles of various types against Ukraine and our people, coming from Volodymyr Zelensky. Meanwhile, Ukraine claims to have struck S-400 defense system in Kursk region. Why I said that UK is doing more, US is doing more than what they're telling us is because of this kind of claim. First of all, if you want to believe that S-400 defense system was struck by Ukraine, you really need to have some proof and evidence. Because this report that I just read to you is coming from Times of India. We do not have any verification that it was indeed hit, the S-400. However, if it was indeed hit, then US and UK, they're supplying, including France and Germany, they're supplying more weapons to Ukraine than ever before. And at the same time, it is also possible that some of the US and UK forces that are directly involved on the ground. In fact, there is a new report that suggests that Russia has killed one UK or British soldier. Now, UK begins war with Russia, and this is again coming from Times of India reporting. Putin's top general, he said 500 North Koreans killed in Storm Shadow strike. Now, I do have some qualm believing that story, but I do believe that if these 500 North Koreans were killed in Russia or in the Kursk region, that must have been done throughout the war. It was not in just one strike. In other words, it was a multiple strike, could be using lethal weapons like Storm Shadow strike or maybe some kind of other missile strike, and this is why maybe perhaps this number is true. But again, I cannot verify this. It is just coming from a source that are claiming that to be the case. Now, Ukraine launched a deadly missile strike on a Russian command post at the Marino estate, reportedly killing a Russian general and wounding North Korean General Kim Won-bak. The attack involving UK-supplied Storm Shadow missiles also allegedly killed over 500 North Korean troops. Again, I'm not saying this to be the case 100%, because again, we do not have any verification. I cannot verify the news myself. The estate served as a military hub for Russian and allied forces. Western and South Korean officials confirmed North Korean involvement, though casualty reports remain unverified. Again, the casualty, we do not know exactly the number of them. In fact, we cannot even verify if North Korean troops are in Russia or in Ukraine fighting for Russia. Why? Because there is really no independent fact checkers. The news of North Korean troops involved in Russia is actually coming from the Western governments, and with them, it is hard for me to believe any of the stories they're telling. But what we do believe is true is this person is not playing games anymore. Take a listen from RT News.
The world must react. Right now, there is no strong reaction from the world. It is necessary to urge Russia to a true peace, which is possible only through force. Otherwise, there will be relentless Russian strikes, threats and destabilization, and not only against Ukraine.
Yeah, well, there isn't a strong reaction from the world, as Zelensky says, because playtime's over and some of his playmates have at least figured out that much. This reaction from the West to Russia's hypersonic missile test is kind of like when a bunch of kids are screwing around in class and the teacher walks in.
The Russian president has sent a television message to the citizens of Russia in which he clearly described the situation and said that they feel and see themselves in a more advantageous position in respect that any country that provides such arms to Ukraine makes those countries its target.
Okay, so yeah, it is true that Putin is winning the hearts and minds of his people. And one example, I found this video where this elderly woman, she was kissing Vladimir Putin. So he is now being seen as a hero. If you contrast that with UK Prime Minister or US President Joe Biden, you can clearly see the difference. He is being treated as a hero. A lot of Russians, I mean, most of them are cheering him up. They're going to be backing him up. They're going to be supporting him. They're going to be standing up with him for their country. On the other hand, you have Keir Starmer, US Joe Biden. They are being so despised by their own people because they are not fighting this war for their country. They're not fighting for the interest of anybody other than the Zionists, those military-industrial complex who are waging these wars, unnecessary war, unnecessary escalation throughout the world. So yeah, Putin is being treated as a hero and his popularity is right through the roof. On the other hand, Joe Biden and Keir Starmer, their popularity is tanking big time. Now, also want to show you this video from Tucker Carlson, what he said about this particular war that I just mentioned. It is not fought for the people of Ukraine or for the people of US, UK, or anybody in Europe. It is a battle, is a war that is being fought for the military-industrial complex. Take a listen at this video from this guy, Tucker Carlson from Fox News.
We did this to control the 11 trillion of minerals under the Donbass. We did it to grind down the Russian war machine on the grist of Ukrainian teenagers. We did it to hand out hundreds of billions of dollars to U.S. hedge funds who are, as we speak, carving up rights to Ukraine's fertile soil and vast mineral resources. The truth is the United States has never stood with the people of Ukraine. That is simply a jingle, an ad campaign broadcast to those who have never been there, designed to sell taxpayers on the appeal of prolonging war for profit. We have cost Ukraine her territory. We have cost Ukraine her children. The war hawks and the bankers are no friends to Ukraine. We did.
Wow, this is absolutely powerful what he said, and this just exposed everything. So even though, yeah, I don't support the Republican, I don't ever support Trump, but at the end of the day, a lot of them are speaking the truth compared to the Democrats who are lying every single time. In fact, they're lying so much so now that they're saying World War III is not going to happen, but we're going to defeat Russia. On the other hand, Russia is actually making more tanks. Take a look at this video. Russia's Ural Vagon Zavod increased production of tanks for the front by 8 times. Russia is not bluffing. Russia is prepared. And we also have reports suggesting that Russia was building those capsules, those parts for nuclear warfare and the protection from the those thing coming from those bombs. What was that? The nuclear bomb, when it exploded, it just create a lot of toxic gas. So in order to protect those citizens, Russia is already building those parts and protecting themselves and getting ready at the same time. Now, when we talk about the hypocrisy of the West, of course, there are so many of them, but I sometimes get really surprised by the Germans' position. This guy, his name is Mars. He is, I believe, the German opposition leader. He said, don't be afraid of nuclear war. Basically, before he lost the election, he pledged to his country people that we're going to stop Russia, we're going to win in Ukraine, we're going to supply Ukraine with more ammo, and we will see the end of it. Then you also have this guy talking about the danger of global warming. And so he's basically saying, the opposition leader of Germany, that don't worry about nuclear war. We are going to be all okay. But the global warming is really dangerous. It's going to kill all of us. Duh. This is how lunatic these people have become. But there is one person who is not. He makes a lot of sense, and that is this person. Let's take a listen at Scott Ritter, what he's saying.
Well, what's happening is that we're sort of on the brink of nuclear war. Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas to everybody. You may not live to see it. Chug that wine while you can, Jeff, because if Joe Biden has his way, we'll all be dead by then, because he is literally putting us on a path towards nuclear war with Russia. The Russians yesterday, in response to continued provocations by the United States and Great Britain, who authorized Ukraine to use U.S.-made ATACMS and British-made Storm Shadow missiles against targets inside Russia, the Russians responded by firing a new missile called the.
So the new missile, the Oreshnik, I want to make a few comments on this Oreshnik missile development by Russia. Number one is that they had an agreement with Ronald Reagan, the former U.S. president, that they will not compete in nuclear weapon proliferation. And that treaty was made in the 1980s. Recently, U.S. violated the treaty. They came out of it and they started to spy on Russia. They started to build more new advanced technological weapons to strike Russia in the future. So when Russia found out this treaty, INF, Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces, this is the name of the treaty. When Russia found out that the U.S. is not honoring that treaty anymore, they also came out of the treaty and they said, we will not abide by it. So the Oreshnik missile, you see, the system, it is actually the byproduct of U.S. betraying that treaty with Russia. Because this Oreshnik missile was not supposed to be invented or made by Russia under that treaty. But because they are not obliged by that treaty anymore, thanks to U.S. not honoring that treaty, nuclear treaty, Russia has came out with this Oreshnik missile that can fire at 20 times more faster than the speed of the sound. Means you will have absolutely zero time to respond to this kind of missiles. And they're very, very accurate, and at the same time, they're very, very deadly and fatal. Take a listen a little bit more from Scott Ritter.
The Oreshnik, I guess it means hazel or hazelnut. It appears to be a modification of the RS-26 Rubiège or Frontier that was almost came into being in 2017. That was a controversial missile because it wasn't quite classifiable. With a certain warhead configuration, it would be an intercontinental ballistic missile. That means with a range greater than 5,000 kilometers. And with another warhead configuration, it would be an intermediate range missile with a range less than 5,000, which would have made it a prohibited system under the then Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty, which was in effect.
Okay, so I'm not going to be playing the rest of the video, but you get the point that Scott Ritter is very, very clear that we are now heading, or we are headed, according to ex-Ukrainian military official, into World War III. We are at the doorstep. We're knocking on the door. It's just now a matter of time that more countries will join in, including countries from the Middle East, Africa. A lot of this, even though leaders are calling for peace and restraint, but we know that when you have Joe Biden and Keir Starmer in power and have the finger on the nuclear button, calling for restraint and calm is just as effective as talking to the wall. And this is exactly the situation right now we are all in. We have some comments here, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.